And it's growth, because the more you become familiar with the fears and you can relax with them, uh, and eventually they go away, that's growth, that's self-knowledge. Um, and I think a lot of these, I think everybody's comes out of their nuclear family with a certain, um, I like to refer to it as English spin on a pool ball. You come out with a certain spin, and at some point, as you go through life and you keep knocking against other things, that spin your stops. You know, and now you can think clearly for yourself, and not just what you were raised to think, and raised to behave, and ways how you were raised to react to certain things, and you can leave all that behind, and that's part of that and that image of all of a sudden waking up to all the baggage that you're lugging around with you. And at some point you realize that you don't have to do that. You can just open up your hands and straighten up and walk without that burden. Um, and I think that's a big step. And the other thing is having understanding of reality. You know, that thing we talked about, where when you are attracted to something, I want to do this, or I want to go be that what you're seeing is is all the positives, and that's what's attracting you. And everything has two sides. There's a price for everything, and everything has a price. And when it comes to paying the price for the decision you've made, what you really have to do, in my opinion, is embrace that price, those negatives, in the same way you embraced the positives and were attracted to the positives. Because if you don't, you're just fooling yourself. You're living a fantasy. And because everything does have a price eventually, you're going to have to face the whole, not just the half of what you embraced. And so knowing that you're going to have to pay a price somewhere along the line, and knowing that you're going to embrace that is very, it's whole, it's complete, it's real. You can't at some point say, oh, that's not what I wanted, or this is not what I thought would happen. You get the benefit, you pay the price. That's how the system works. And I think if you're if you vacillate and you say, oh, I want to do that, but I'm afraid of losing this other thing, you really have to listen to your heart. You know, I don't know how to explain that, but what you really want to do, and because that's where that's where the growth is. You get to the end of your life, and you feel you've grown. I mean, life is a gift, and to throw it away, doing what not being self-fulfilled, you're going to be unhappy at the end of your life that you didn't do it. So the sooner you, start to find yourself. And trying to think of anything else that's my Steve Landau's philosophy of the world.
Well, I was just thinking about you talking about that first step of departure, that how that's the hardest, the most challenging step, and then after that, you kind of find this path and it becomes easier. When you took that first step, was it that there was so much just weight and heaviness associated with what you were doing that you just couldn't take it anymore, that you had to make a change? Or do you remember, if you think back, some specific incident, or what was it that clicked with you that made you take that first step of departure?
Well, I was unhappy, as I said, with what I was doing. And the things I saw and the people I met and where I was living and how I was living. And I didn't really know what I wanted. All I knew at that point is I wanted to be outside and I wanted to do something physical. And I went from a fairly, a very comfortable lifestyle into being a gardener in an arboretum, mowing lawns. And I was happy as could be. And I didn't know how it would turn out. But that first step, yeah, that was the difficult one. Saying, okay, I'm not going to do this anywhere. I don't know what I'm going to do, but here's that first step.
So you were really clear about what you didn't want.
Yeah.
But you weren't sure what you did. You just knew it wasn't what you were currently doing.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
I'll give you some details. I was working in a family business with my father, and that was a difficult relationship. I began and ended every day with a traffic jam on the expressway. I hated that. The job entailed dealing with a lot of kind of obnoxious people on the phone and going to factories, and you go into these factories and you see all these people who were almost like robots. They didn't have any life in their eyes. They were just performing this same function over and over and over again. And I found that depressing because I'm kind of like, got a more poetic kind of soul. And to me, this was soul crushing. And these, you go in these back alleys and it's filthy. It's just, there was nothing aesthetically there for me. I was just trying to cope. And I was living in suburbia and I couldn't relate to any of that. I was married to a woman that I got pregnant when we were very young, and there was no happiness there for me. Although I was, again, trying to cope and deal with it and convince myself that this was all okay. Eventually, it wasn't okay anymore. I knew that I was unhappy. So what are you going to do? I'm unhappy. Am I going to do this for the rest of my life? Or am I just going to bite the bullet, cross my fingers, and take that first step? And yeah, I was motivated because I knew that I wasn't happy and that I didn't want to spend the rest of my life doing this. And so to take that 90-degree turn, but once you do, then it leads to a next step, and that leads to a next step, and the next step, and I've been happy ever since. You know, no matter what. But, you pick up new skills. You want to go this direction. Maybe that's a dead end, and then that leads. You know, you make another choice, and eventually, um, if you have the confidence in yourself, you wind up in happy in all the aspects of your life. And now I got everything I want. You know, I'm doing what I want. I'm with who I want to be. I'm where I want to be. I'm friends with the kind of people I want to be friends with. And well, that wouldn't have happened if I, you know, opted to just trade in my happiness for some security.
Right. Yeah.
And so yeah, that first step is the big one. But you got to have, you know, you have to know that you have to make a decision, and it's not like there's a right or a wrong decision. You can't think your way through these things. It's not based on logic. Language is based on logic. Your heart and, you know, is not. There's a lot of very complex stuff that you can't even begin to sort out and comb through. And that's why, you know, the heart speaks a different language than the head. And all you can do is follow that inclination that your heart is pointing towards. And you can't know the outcome, but you can make the decision be the right one because you put yourself into it. You put the work into it. You put the effort into it. You make it be the right decision, and it always will be.
Was part of that also that you were owning it? It was yours. You had made this decision, and you were making these decisions, and it wasn't the business, and it wasn't family expectations, and it wasn't societal expectations telling you or dictating what you did. That did you find that as you moved further down that path that your confidence increased because you said, I'm answering to myself. I'm not answering to a system, or I'm not answering to somebody else.
Absolutely.
I'm answering to myself. And so
Yeah.
how did that kind of play into it all?
Well, I have the image of being like a horse that is in a harness and that moves around a well drawn water. And all you do is you're in a harness. And I did not want to lead my life in a harness. You know,
And that's an interesting analogy because a horse doing that
gets
is
nowhere.
but they are being productive. They are doing something that's providing something to make other people's lives better, right? They're pulling
Right.
the water up. The horse is getting exercise. The horse is outside. So you can justify, well, there are all these good things about it, but
Yeah.
that other side of it, like you were talking about, kind of that three-dimensional, you see the first, all the positives, but then looking at it in a 360-degree manner. But
Yeah.
what's most important to you? You don't want to be harnessed. You don't want to be restricted in that
living
way.
someone else has set out a role for you, and you're living that role. Maybe it is productive. Maybe but is it you? Is
Right.
it what you want? Does that come from within? And if it doesn't, what is coming from within? And do you want to discover that and feel that kind of fulfillment? That you know at the end of your life that, yeah, I'm glad I did all the things I did. I'm glad that, because I feel fulfilled. I fulfilled my destiny.